I'm Jesse, and I spent 19 years in the Virginia prison system, and I'm here with Plant on the box because we're moving. We don't have any furniture, and Kurt, your prison pal, who was my cell partner, who used to get up to no good. So, what was your favorite like mess up story?
Oh, right. So my favorite mess up story, I don't know. It's probably the worst one. Um, some old man said that I testified on him and they moved me back in the same exact pod with him. So I didn't even know this was my cellie beforehand. So I got in the pod and they won't put you together. If you testify on somebody or you do anything to harm somebody, they're not going to put you together no matter what. So I get in there and it's top tier, bottom tier. So the bottom tier is out and he's on the bottom tier now. So I'm banging on the door trying to get him to come over. And he was waving me off, kept waving me off. So once he did that a couple of times, my neighbor banged on the wall because I was in this pod before. And he was like, "Hey, Country said that you went to court and testified on him. He's seen you get on the stand and tell the people everything, that he told you a story in the cell and you went and told everything." He said, "Man, you're in the pod, so we 100% don't believe that." So I was like, all right. So I found that out and I kept calling him and he wouldn't come to the door. So I finally tricked the CO into opening the door. I was like, "Hey, I need a plunger. I just got out the hole. I just took a massive shit and my cellies are all right here." So he opened the door and I went down and he tried to spit on me. So I beat him up.
All right, that wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but yeah. The story I'm thinking of is we were part of this peer support program that was like revolutionary and award winning. We had this big graduation. We were talking about all the things we'd accomplished. And what did you do at the graduation?
I had a visitor come in and he brought me a pair of shoes. So I traded out my prison Bobos for his shoes and wore them back to the pod, which was not supposed to be done.
Yeah, so you got shoes in. You basically got contraband smuggled in, but then you didn't like take them off and like stick them in the corner. What did you do? You just kept wearing them the rest of the day?
Yeah, I wore them to the pill line. I wore them to Chow because we had just gotten out. So I walked over to Chow and I was going through the pill line to get my medicine. And there's an officer that stands there. And one of my buddies said, "Hey, those shoes are clean." I said, "Yeah, thanks." As I walked past the officer looked down and he was the same one that was working the visitation room when we were doing the graduation. So he knew that I didn't come in with nice white shoes. So they came and got me. And they were
So,
like, "Hey, where'd your nice white shoes come from?"
so you got stuck in a hole because you were my cellie at that point. You
Yeah.
got back to the hole. I ended up living with another guy after that. You ended up doing how long in a hole for getting shoes smuggled in?
I think I was back there for 90 days.
Yeah.
It was a while.
And you got lucky you didn't get transferred because they were thinking like, oh, if he got shoes smuggled in, like what else did he do? But the other thing you used to do when you're in a cell is you used to cook and you used to make stuff like ovens and boxing mitts and shin guards. And what was your favorite thing to make?
My favorite thing to make was the popsicle sticks. Remember how we used to glue them together? And I
Mm-hmm.
made the sanding wheel out of the fan.
Mm-hmm.
There would be sand or there would be wood chips all over the entire cell. I'd be sitting here with this fan in my lab, winding these things down. Yeah, that was by far because it was the most time consuming and it was the best thing to keep my mind on other stuff. Like all the other little projects, that's quick, make a couple bucks and then
Mm-hmm.
keep it moving.
And you still like you're on YouTube and you're on social media making ovens, making stingers, making tattoo guns, like showing people how you did this because you had a whole craft of that. Like, did you have a real job or did you just hustle your whole time in?
I didn't get any money and really didn't have the motivation to do anything for my first probably 6 years. I mean, I was 21 years old and they had sentenced me to 12 years in prison over a crime that I took to court and I tried to fight and just ended up screwing myself even worse. But all in all, that's what I had. My hustle was what I had. I couldn't make money any other way because I had no family, I had no friends. I screwed everybody over. I was high all day, every day, and drinking all day, every day, and just being a piece of shit my whole life. So I kind of lost all contact with all the outside world and had no support. So it was hustle or die.
Yeah, because I mean that's what I remember is when we started this peer support program. You were already in the pod, and you were like, "Yo, come be my cellie." I was like, "All right, cool." And I realized like you were getting into stuff. You were on the top tier, drunk, saying crazy stuff. I was like, "Man, what did I get into?"
I was on the top tier throwing bagels at people.
But what I found was like you had that kind of asshole reputation, but like you really did have a good heart. And I saw that come out over and over. I saw the way you looked out for people. You would take up for somebody, you would make sure somebody was okay. So it was like you would obviously experience a lot in your life, but you find that kind of goodness in your heart because even when you didn't have a lot, you were willing to share with other people.
Yeah, because I've had nothing. Like I understand 100% what it's like to be in the cell at night and you can't even have a oodle and noodle because You ate lunch or you ate dinner at 5 o'clock, and now by 10 you're starving. And you worked out during the day, and nah, I know what it's like. I don't want nobody else to go hungry if I got something.
Yeah, and so when I got out on August 16th of 2021. Within like a week, I got a weight vest getting sent to my house because Kurt was like, "Yo, I want you to have a weight vest. I want you to work out. Here's your coming home present." You weren't even doing great at that point. Like you weren't doing well financially, but you took it out of your time and out of your money to send me a present for coming home.
Yeah, nah, we had just moved to Florida, and once we moved down there, it was kind of hard struggling from there because once my sister had passed, we went ahead and sold everything that we had down here and just transferred up there. And I didn't have a job. I didn't have any. I was just trying to save my mom.
Yeah.
And when all that happened, she was doing so hard off that I was like, all right. And I told my kid's mother that we needed to go up there, and I said, you can go or you can stay. She decided she wanted to go with me, and once we got there, it was struggling because we didn't have jobs. But I knew that you were coming home, and I've done that for several people. My buddy Ghost needed tattoo equipment. He just came home, so I sent him because I had all my tattoo stuff from when I first came home, and I sent it all to him. Sent him all my tattoo equipment, all my tattoo needles, guns, everything, the whole setup. And he started off from there, and now he's doing amazing artwork. And
Yeah.
I'm all about trying to help somebody out because I know that it's hard coming home.
Yeah, because I remember you opened up with me. You're one of the people that I talk about because people ask me what the hardest thing I saw in prison was, and for me, it was usually people talking about their time in foster care, talking about their time going through a really ugly system. You told me some stories that just like they kind of reeled me. That made it was tough. But I think about having gone through that and having struggled, you found your way in life to where you're helping other people. But the other thing you did is you got into martial arts while we were in prison.
I did. Unfortunately, it did not transfer over in the last match that we had, but I was very into martial arts. It helped extraordinarily with my temperament, with one to, because a lot of times in prison, you get people that'll nitpick, and I'm the type of guy that if you want to dick off, I'm going to try to beat you up. And I was like that until I woke up one day and I realized that I couldn't grow up and be like that. I can't be an adult and act like a child forever. And that was the problem that I had in prison. I came in at 21. I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. I just knew I was 21 years old and had 12 years in prison to go through. So I wilded out and I did what I wanted, and I'm going to do what I want until that day when I got that job as a mental health mentor with y'all. And I cared about them guys. They were people that were in my pod. They were people that needed help, just like I did at one point in time. And I was just glad to be helpful for once in my life instead of hurtful.
I mean, that's one of the things I've always found is that what we would do in that program is when you had somebody who was a troublemaker, somebody who was like always causing strife, we would try to give them a position of authority, or we try to give them something to do. You were a perfect example of that because you were a part of the program, and then we were like, man, you need to be a mentor. Like you need to share with other people, and you started to see your own potential. You started to see the impact you could have on other people, and I saw how it changed you. Yeah, you got some shoes in, and look, that's not a big deal. Like in the big scheme of things, is it really immoral for you to want some nice tennis shoes rather than some like $5 Bob Barker Bobos? Probably not. It wasn't the best decision. You were there showing up for other people, and I always thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, it was hard at times because I deal with my own mental health issues, but being able to sit down with these individuals, like I had the one guy, you know which guy I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that was in the corner cell, and all he wanted to do was wild out, but he would blame it on his mental health disorders. And that's the one person that I could identify with because I would do the same thing at one point in time. I'd be like, yo, I beat that dude up because I don't know, I freaked out and it got into my anxiety and I didn't know what else to do. And I mean, that was all excuses to me because honestly, I knew what I was doing, but I needed an excuse for what I was doing. And with him, it was the same thing. I'm wilding out because I want to be heard, I want to be seen, but I'm going to blame it on this. That way I can try to finagle the system. And that was the one person that I really clicked with. And we were able to sit down and have the same kind of like deep conversations that it made sense to be able to talk to this person and say, hey, this ain't what the fuck you need to be doing.
Yeah, and I was impressed by that. And the other thing you've done is besides looking out for me when I got out, you've opened up to me about the struggle of getting out. And I've tried to highlight that because we think, oh, once we get out of prison, everything's going to be better, everything's going to be easier, but it's been a lot harder. The adjustment has been, and it's been difficult.
So yeah, the adjustment from coming home from prison for me was ridiculous. Just because I'm a 9 to 5 guy. I work construction, And coming out of prison as a felon, you're not going to find anybody that's going to hire you in a construction field that's going to pay you what you deserve. It's the same way. That's why they hire people like us, because they know that they can get maximum work for minimum wage. I am a convicted felon. I only hire convicted felons in my business because I know that those are going to be the hardest working individuals. But I'm going to pay you like I would like to get paid. Um, all of that, just, it's a lot when it comes to dealing with these situations. You're coming home and you have no financial income if you're just coming home by yourself. I had a little bit of support when I came home. My father brought me in. They stuck me in a camper. I lived in a camper, didn't have any running. It had running water, but I had to fill the clear tanks, and I had no sewage, so I had to use a porta john. And I mean, that's where I started at. Right now, I own a home, 4 bedroom, and I own my own business, and I had to work for that. Like, it was the hardest things that I've ever had to do in my life because it was never given to me. No one ever was like, "Hey, here's an abundance of money to go start and do whatever you want to." No, it was hustle. It's the same things that I learned in prison. It's hustle, hustle, hustle. I was working 100 hours a week for a job just to pay my rent, to take care of my kids, and that's not nothing anybody should have to do. Like, no one in the world should have to hustle 100 hours a week for $1,000. That's insane. Now I work 8 hours in a day and make $1,000. I mean, that's on a good note, but
But no, I mean that was the thing I saw is that whatever other issues you had going on, you had this incredible hustle, man. You were always doing something. You were always building something. You were always trying to stay busy. Like you made so many ovens while I was in there. An oven takes like 12 or 14 hours to make. It's out of steel wool and cardboard and cans. And he would make multiple ovens because he just wanted something to do. So I thought if you could get out and you could find a job where you can actually get paid for your time and paid for your energy, you're gonna make a killing, and you have. You've really made everybody proud.
yeah. I mean, it's been work. Like, nobody ever believed in me because everybody always seen me for the person that I was, and I was a bad person, and I understand that. And I look back now, and that's not the type of person that I want to be. I don't want to be the person that people don't want to bring around because they think you're going to steal my Game Boy or you might take something out of my house. But I was that type of person. I'm going to do what I want, and I don't really care about the consequences. I've been in jail since I was 13, and it was just that breaking point, and that's where it ended up.
Yeah.
Here I am.
And here you are. And he came here to help me pack my house because I'm moving today. So he drove hours to get here just to help. He brought his sister, who's been incredibly helpful and giving us like TikTok dances and stuff. But it's been awesome. And that's the person who I've seen showing up in my life. And that's the power of change that I've seen. When we believe in people, when we hold them to a higher standard, they tend to rise to that standard. And Kurt is a perfect example. Give him a follow on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. He's amazing. Kurt, your prison pal. Thank you for joining us.